Close your eyes for a second. Right now. Don't open them yet. What's happening around you? The sound of your breath, the weight of your body in the chair, the thoughts buzzing in your head. If you're like most people, you're probably thinking, not because it will magically fix your life in 24 hours, but because it can change how you experience this exact moment. That's what immediate transformation really means. Not overnight success, not instant wealth or fame, but a shift in how you meet reality. Right here, right now. Let me be brutally honest. If you're looking for a quick fix, you've come to the wrong place. Stoicism isn't about shortcuts. It's about showing up day after day to train your mind. Like an athlete trains for a marathon, you don't become strong in a day, but you can choose to start today. This script isn't about changing your circumstances. It's about changing your relationship to your circumstances. And that change begins the moment you decide to pay attention. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them. Not about being cold or unfeeling. It's about being wise. The ancient Stoics weren't robots. Marcus Aurelius wept when his son died. Seneca wrote about grief. Epictetus was a former slave. They knew pain, but they also knew that suffering isn't caused by events. It's caused by our judgments about events. That's the key. And it's something you can apply in this very second. If you're angry about something that happened yesterday, you're still angry right now. If you're anxious about tomorrow, you're anxious right now. The past and future only exist in your mind, and your mind is within your control. That's the first step, and it's the most powerful. So let's begin, not with grand promises, but with one simple question: what is within your control right now? Pause, breathe, look around, the air entering your lungs, within your control, the temperature of the room. Not within your control, the sound of your neighbor's dog barking. Not within your control, the decision to take another breath. Absolutely within your control. That's the foundation of everything we'll discuss today. Not abstract philosophy, not vague life advice. A practical, actionable tool you can use right now to stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your inner world. Stoicism has been called the most practical philosophy ever created. Why? Because it doesn't ask you to change the world. It asks you to change how you interact with the world. And that change starts in the present moment. You don't need to read 10 books. You don't need to join a monastery. You don't need to wait for the right time. You just need to pause and ask, what is within my control? That question alone can transform your day, your week, your life. But let's be clear, this isn't about fixing yourself. It's about seeing yourself clearly. Stoicism isn't a bandage for your pain. It's a mirror. It shows you where your power truly lies and where it doesn't. And once you see that, once you truly understand that your only real power is over your own thoughts, your own actions, your own choices, everything else becomes secondary. You'll stop wasting energy on things you can't control. You'll stop blaming circumstances for your unhappiness. You'll stop waiting for life to be perfect before you can be at peace. That's the immediate transformation. Not a new job, not a new relationship, not a new bank account, but a new way of being in the world. One where you're no longer at the mercy of external events. Because here's the truth, life will always be unpredictable. Storms will always come. But you don't have to be the ship that sinks. You can be the sailor who learns to navigate the waves, and that starts today, right now. So let's begin. Principle 1, the Dichotomy of Control. You've heard it before. Focus on what you can control. But what does that actually mean? And why does it matter so much? Let's start with the simple truth. Life is chaotic. Planets orbit, people change, markets crash, relationships end, jobs disappear, bodies age. None of these things are within your control, not even close. But here's the part people miss. The chaos isn't the problem. The problem is how we react to it. Epictetus, the former slave who became one of history's greatest Stoic teachers, put it perfectly. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in short, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in short, whatever is not of our own doing. That's it. That's the entire foundation. Think about your morning right now. The alarm ringing, not within your control. The fact that you're tired, not within your control. Not within, but whether you hit snooze or get up, that is within your control. The traffic jam on your commute, not within your control. The fact that you're late, not within your control. But whether you curse or breathe deeply, that is within your control. Your boss's criticism, not within your control. The fact that they're stressed, not within your control. But whether you take it personally or use it to improve, that is within your control. This isn't passive acceptance, it's active clarity. It's recognizing that your only real power lies in how you respond, not in changing the world, but in changing your relationship to it. Here's what happens when you ignore this. You waste energy on things you can't change. You get angry at the weather. You resent your boss. You blame your circumstances for your unhappiness. You feel powerless. But when you practice this principle, you stop fighting reality. You stop exhausting yourself. You redirect your energy where it actually matters, your own choices. So how do you apply this right now? Pause. Take a deep breath. Look around. Ask yourself, what is within my control in this exact moment? The air in your lungs? Yes. The temperature of the room? No. The thoughts in your head? Yes. The sound of traffic outside? No. The decision to focus on your breath? Yes. That's it. That's the practice. When something frustrating happens, your phone dies, your coffee spills, someone cuts you off in traffic, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is within my control here? Your reaction, within your control. Your next action, within your control. Your attitude, within your control. Within your everything else, let it go. This isn't about ignoring problems. It's about focusing your energy where it counts. If your car breaks down, you can't control the mechanic's schedule, but you can control whether you call for help calmly or rage at the sky. If someone insults you, you can't control their words, but you can control whether you internalize them or let them bounce off. If you're stuck in a meeting that's boring, you can't control the agenda, but you can control whether you listen with curiosity or resentment. This is the moment-to-moment practice, not a grand philosophical concept, a simple daily tool. Here's a real-world example. A friend of mine was laid off from her job. She had a mortgage, 2 kids, and no savings. Most people would spiral into panic. But she paused. She asked, "What's within my control?" Her resume? Yes. Her networking? Yes. Her attitude during interviews? Yes. Her job market? No. Her company's decisions? No. Her unemployment benefits? Not entirely. So she focused only on what she could control. She updated her resume. She reached out to contacts. She practiced interview answers. She didn't waste time crying about unfairness or bad luck. Within 3 weeks, she had a new job, not because the world changed, but because she changed where she directed her energy. That's the power of the dichotomy of control. That's the power. It doesn't make life easier, but it makes it manageable. Try this now. The next time you feel stressed, pause. Ask, what is within my control? Write it down. Focus only on that. Let the rest go. That's not just philosophy, that's freedom. Principle 2, Amor, Fati. Love your fate. What if I told you that everything that has ever happened to you, every mistake, every loss, every disappointment, was necessary for you to become who you are today? That might sound impossible, maybe even offensive, but that's the core of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase meaning love your fate. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's not about toxic positivity. It's about seeing your life exactly as it is, as the perfect training ground for your growth. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that. When obstacles arise, they don't stop you. They teach you. You lose a job. It forces you to discover your true passions. You break up with someone. It teaches you what you truly need in a relationship. You get sick. It reminds you to cherish your health. Amor Fati isn't passive, it's active. It's saying this happened. Now what can I learn? How can I grow? Here's the common mistake. People think loving your fate means enjoying pain. No, it means accepting pain as part of the journey, not resisting it, not wishing it away, but using it. When you resist reality, you suffer twice, once for the event and once for your anger about it. When you accept it, you suffer only once, and you could begin to work with it. So how do you practice this right now? Take something that's bothering you, a mistake you made, a conflict you're in, a setback you're facing. Instead of saying, this shouldn't be happening, say, this is happening. What can I learn from it? Not, why me? But what is this teaching me? Here's a real example. A young entrepreneur I know poured everything into a business. It failed. He was devastated. But instead of blaming himself or the market, he asked, what did this failure teach me? He realized he'd been ignoring customer feedback. He'd been too proud to ask for help. He'd been chasing validation instead of solving real problems. So he started over. This time he listened. He asked for help. He focused on solving real problems. His next business succeeded, not because the world was kinder, but because he'd used the failure as fuel. That's Amor, Fati. Not, I'm lucky this happened. But this happened. Now I'm stronger because of it. Try this now. Think of a recent setback. Instead of resenting it, ask, how is this making me better? Not, why did this happen? But what is this preparing me for? The next time someone cuts you off in traffic, don't curse. Say, this is teaching me patience. The next time you're stuck in a boring meeting, don't rage. Say, this is teaching me to find focus in stillness. The next time you make a mistake, don't shame yourself. Say, this is teaching me humility. That's not optimism. It's strategic acceptance, because here's the truth. Life doesn't owe you comfort. It owes you growth. And growth only comes through challenge. So stop wishing for an easier life. Start wishing for a stronger one. Amor Fati isn't about loving every moment. It's about loving the process. The messy, painful, beautiful process of becoming who you're meant to be. And that starts today. Principle 3, Memento Mori. Remember you must die 1,000 words. Close your eyes. Imagine it. The moment you take your last breath, the room goes quiet, the world keeps moving, but you're gone. Now open your eyes. That's Memento Mori, the Stoic practice of remembering you will die. It sounds dark, doesn't it? But it's the most liberating practice you'll ever do. Because when you truly remember death, you stop wasting time. You stop caring about petty things. You stop postponing joy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Think about that. If you knew you'd die tomorrow, would you spend today arguing with your spouse? Would you waste hours on social media? Would you put off that conversation you've been avoiding? No. You'd call the people you love. You'd tell them how you feel. You'd do what matters. That's the power of Memento Mori. It's not about fear. It's about clarity. Here's the common mistake. People think remembering death means being morbid, but it's the opposite. It's about living fully. When you forget death, you take life for granted. You assume you have more time. You delay happiness. You settle for mediocrity. But when you remember death, you wake up, you prioritize, you act. So how do you practice this right now? Take a breath. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, what would I do differently? Not in a year, not next week. Today, would you spend time with your kids? Would you apologize to someone you've hurt? Would you take that risk you've been avoiding? That's it. That's the practice. Here's a real example. A friend of mine was diagnosed with a serious illness. Doctors said he had months to live. Most people would collapse. But he didn't. He started living. He called old friends. He traveled. He told his family he loved them. He quit his toxic job. He wrote letters to people he'd never thanked. He didn't have a happy last few months, but he had meaningful ones because he remembered death. That's Memento Mori in action, not despair, but purpose. Try this now. The next time you feel overwhelmed by small things, traffic, work stress, a disagreement, pause. Ask, will this matter when I'm on my deathbed? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, do it now. Because here's the truth, death isn't the enemy, regret is. And regret comes from not living fully while you still can. So remember, you are mortal. This moment is precious, don't waste it. Principle 4, Premeditatio Malorum, Premeditation of evils. What if I told you the best way to handle life's worst moments isn't to avoid them, but to imagine them before they happen? That's Premeditatio Malorum, the Stoic practice of mentally rehearsing adversity. It sounds counterintuitive. Why would you want to think about bad things? Because when you do, you remove their power. You prepare your mind. You build resilience before crisis hits. Epictetus said, "We should not fear the future, we should prepare for it." Think about it. If you know a storm is coming, you don't panic. You secure the house. You gather supplies. You brace yourself. Life is the same. When you mentally rehearse challenges, you stop being shocked by them. You stop being overwhelmed. You act with clarity. Here's the common mistake. People think this is negative thinking, but it's not. It's strategic preparation. If you never imagine failure, you'll be destroyed by it. If you imagine it, you'll be ready for it. So how do you practice this right now? Take one fear you have, a job loss, a relationship ending, a health scare. Now close your eyes, imagine it happening, feel the fear, see the details. But don't dwell in panic. Instead, ask, how would I respond if this happened today? You'd call your support system. You'd focus on what you can control. You'd take small, practical steps. That's it. That's the practice. Here's a real example. A CEO I know was terrified of market crashes. Instead of ignoring it, he practiced Premeditatio Malorum. Every week, he'd imagine his company going bankrupt. What would he do? He'd lay off staff. No, he'd cut costs. Yes, he'd call investors. Yes, he'd focus on his team's strengths. Absolutely. When the 2008 crash hit, he was ready. He didn't panic. He acted. His company survived, not because he predicted the crash, but because he'd mentally rehearsed it. That's the power of Premeditatio Malorum. It turns fear into preparedness. Think of one thing you're worried about. A presentation, a conversation, a financial risk. Close your eyes. Imagine it going terribly. Now ask, what's my first step? My second step? You'll find the fear loses its grit. Because you're no longer helpless, you're prepared. Because here's the truth. Life will always have challenges. But you don't have to be surprised by them. You can train your mind to face them with calm. Start today. 5. Virtue is the sole good. What if I told you there's only one thing that truly matters in life? Not money, not fame, not success, not even happiness. Virtue. The Stoics called virtue the only true good. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, is indifferent. Not bad, but not the source of your happiness. Your happiness depends on your character, not your circumstances. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Think about that. If you're kind, courageous, just, and wise, no matter what happens, you're living well. If you're selfish, cowardly, unjust, or foolish, no matter how much you have, you're living poorly. That's the core of this principle. Here's the common mistake. People think virtue means being moral or religious. But Stoic virtue is practical. It's 4 pillars. 1. Wisdom, knowing what's true and acting accordingly. 2. Courage, facing fear and doing what's right. 3. Justice, treating others fairly and with compassion. 4. Temperance, moderation in all things. That's it. That's the foundation of a good life. So how do you practice this right now? Pause. Ask yourself, am I acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in this moment? Not, am I happy? Not, am I successful? But, am I being virtuous? Here's a real example. A nurse I know worked in a chaotic hospital. She was exhausted, overworked, but she never lost her patience with patients. Why? Because she focused on virtue. She asked, am I being just? Am I showing compassion? Am I staying calm? Not. Am I appreciated? Not. Am I paid enough? But am I living well? That's the difference. Try this now. The next time you're tempted to lie, cheat, or act selfishly, pause. Ask, is this virtuous? If not, do it. Because here's the truth. No amount of external success can make up for a corrupt character, and no amount of external failure can ruin a virtuous one. Your character is your legacy. Nurture it. Principle 6. Live according to nature. What if I told you the key to peace isn't changing the world, but aligning yourself with it? That's living according to nature. Not nature as in forests and rivers, but nature as in the rational order of the universe. The Stoics believed everything happens for a reason. Not in a mystical way, but in a logical way. The sun rises, the seasons change, people make mistakes, life is unpredictable. That's nature. To live according to nature means accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Think about that. You can't control the weather, but you can't control other people, but you can love them as they are. That's the practice. Here's the common mistake. People think living according to nature means being passive, but it's not. It's about acting within reality, not against it. If you're stuck in traffic, you don't fight the cars. You adjust your expectations. You find peace in the moment. If someone is rude, you don't demand they change. You choose how to respond. That's living according to nature. So how do you practice this right now? Pause. Look around. What's happening that you're resisting? The noise outside, the fact that you're tired, the weather. Instead of fighting it, accept it. Say, "This is how it is. Now what?" Here's a real example. A friend of mine hated winter. He'd cursed the cold, the snow, the short days. But one winter he decided to accept it. He stopped fighting. He put on warm clothes. He enjoyed hot chocolate. He embraced the quiet beauty of snow. He didn't change winter, but he changed his relationship to it. And suddenly, winter wasn't a problem. It was part of life. That's living according to nature. Try this now. The next time something frustrates you, traffic, a delay, a mistake, pause. Instead of resisting, say, "This is nature. Now, how do I respond with wisdom?" Because here's the truth. The universe doesn't care about your plans, but it does reward those who flow with it. Stop fighting reality. Start working with it. Principle 7. The obstacle is the way. What if I told you that every problem you face is actually a gift? That's the obstacle is the way. It's not a cliché. It's a practical tool. When challenges arise, they don't block you. They show you how to grow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about that. A wall isn't a barrier, it's a challenge to climb. A storm isn't a threat, it's a test of your strength. The obstacle isn't stopping you, it's training you. Here's the common mistake. People see obstacles as bad luck, but they're not. They're opportunities. If you're stuck in traffic, it's not a problem. It's time to practice patience. If you're rejected for a job, it's not a failure, it's a chance to improve. If you're hurt by someone, it's not a tragedy, it's a lesson in compassion. So how do you practice this right now? Pause. Take a challenge you're facing. Ask, how is this helping me grow? Not, why is this happening? But, what is this teaching me? Here's a real example. A writer I know was rejected by 50 publishers. Most people would quit, but he asked, "What is this teaching me?" He realized his writing was too self-indulgent. He needed to focus on serving readers, not himself. So he rewrote his book. He focused on clarity. He made it about the reader's needs. It became a bestseller, not because the rejections disappeared, but because he used them to grow. That's the obstacle is the way. Try this now. The next time you face a problem, big or small, pause. Ask, how is this an opportunity? Not, this sucks, but this is my training ground. Because here's the truth. Life doesn't hand you problems. It hands you lessons, and every lesson is a chance to become stronger. Principle 8, Stoic Journaling. What if I told you the simplest way to transform your life is to write it down? That's Stoic Journaling, not fancy diaries, not gratitude lists, but a daily practice of reflecting on your thoughts, actions, and choices. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations in a journal. Seneca wrote letters to himself. Epictetus taught students to write down their principles. Why? Because writing forces clarity. It turns abstract ideas into actionable steps. Here's the common mistake. People think journaling is navel-gazing, but it's not. It's training your mind. When you write, you see patterns. You catch irrational thoughts. You reinforce virtues. So how do you practice this right now? Grab a notebook or open a blank document. Write 3 things. 1. What happened today that tested me? 2. How did I respond? 3. How could I have responded better? That's it. No fluff, just truth. Here's a real example. A manager I know started journaling after a stressful meeting. He wrote, "Today my team argued. I yelled. I felt powerless. Next time I'll pause before reacting. I'll listen first. I'll ask questions instead of giving orders." The next week, when tension arose, he remembered. He paused. He listened. The meeting went smoothly. That's Stoic Journaling in action. Try this now. Take 5 minutes. Write 1 thing that challenged you today, how you reacted, how you'd like to react tomorrow. Because here's the truth. Your mind is a muscle, and journaling is its workout. The more you write, the clearer you become. Principle 9, negative visualization. What if I told you the best way to appreciate what you have is to imagine losing it? That's negative visualization, not pessimism, not fear, but gratitude practice. The Stoics didn't just think about what they wanted, they thought about what they could lose. Seneca wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Think about that. If you imagine losing your job, you'll value it more. If you imagine losing a loved one, you'll cherish them more. It's not about dwelling on loss, it's about waking up to what you have. Here's the common mistake. People think this is depressing, but it's the opposite. It's the most joyful practice you'll ever do, because when you realize how fragile life is, you stop taking things for granted. So how do you practice this right now? Pause, think of something you love, your home, your health, your family. Now imagine it's gone, feel the loss. Then ask, how can I appreciate this more today? Here's a real example. A friend of mine lost his car in a flood. Before that, he'd never appreciated it. But after, he'd say, "This car is a miracle. I'm so lucky to have it." He didn't need the flood to realize that, but the flood made him see it. Negative visualization is doing that before loss happens. Try this now. Think of one thing you take for granted: your health, your job, your partner. Imagine losing it. Then say, "Thank you for this. I won't take it for granted." Because here's the truth, you don't need to lose things to appreciate them. You just need to imagine losing them. Principle 10, the Inner Citadel. What if I told you there's a place inside you that no one can touch? That's the Inner Citadel. The Stoics called it your ruling faculty, the part of you that's always in control. No matter what happens outside, your inner citadel is unshakable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that. A storm can destroy your house, but it can't destroy your courage. A war can take your freedom, but it can't take your integrity. Your inner citadel is your true home. Here's the common mistake. People think this is about being tough, but it's not. It's about being free. When you know your inner citadel is unbreakable, you stop fearing the world. So how do you practice this right now? Pause, close your eyes. Find that quiet place inside you, the path that's always calm. Breathe there, rest there. Here's a real example. A soldier I know was captured in war, tortured, threatened, but he never broke. Why? Because he retreated to his inner citadel. He focused on his breath, his values, his inner peace. The world could break his body, but it couldn't break his spirit. That's the inner citadel. Try this now. The next time you're stressed, pause. Breathe. Find that quiet place inside. Rest there, because here's the truth. No one can take your peace. Unless you give it away, guard it, protect it. Live there. Principle of N, the 3 disciplines. What if I told you there's a simple framework for living well? It's the 3 disciplines. 1, or, what you want. 2, action, what you do. 3, assent, what you believe. This is the practical core of Stoicism. Epictetus taught that all suffering comes from misaligning these 3. If you desire what you can't control, you suffer. If you act without wisdom, you create chaos. If you assent to false beliefs, you lose your peace. So how do you practice this right now? Pause. Ask, desire, am I wanting something outside my control? Let it go. Action, am I acting with virtue? Yes, good, no, adjust. Assent, am I believing something irrational? Challenge it. Here's a real example. A student I know was terrified of exams. He'd panic. He'd tell himself, if I fail, I'm worthless. That's a false assent. He started practicing. Desire, I want to pass, but I control only my preparation, not the outcome. Action, I'll study for 2 hours today. That's within my control. Assent, failing doesn't make me worthless, it's just feedback. The next exam, he was calm. He did his best. He passed. That's the 3 disciplines in action. Try this now. The next time you feel stressed, pause. Ask, what am I desiring that I can't control? What am I doing that's unwise? What am I believing that's false? Then adjust. Because here's the truth. Your mind is a machine, and these 3 disciplines are its operating system. Run it well. Principle 12, practice daily. What if I told you there's no big transformation, only small daily choices? That's the final principle. Practice daily. Stoicism isn't a one-time fix, it's a lifelong practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." But he didn't say it once, he wrote it every day. Because transformation isn't a destination, it's a journey. You don't become wise overnight, you become wise through daily practice. Here's the common mistake. People think Stoicism means reading books or meditating for hours. But it's not. It's tiny, consistent actions. Pause before reacting. Ask what's within my control. Write down what you're grateful for. Practice patience in traffic. Choose kindness in conflict. That's it. That's the practice. So how do you practice this right now? Pick one small thing, one tiny action. Do it today, then do it tomorrow, and the next day. Here's a real example. A friend of mine started practicing Stoicism by saying one kind thing to a stranger every day. Day 1, thank you for holding the door. Day 2, you look nice today. Day 3, have a great day. After a month, he felt happier, more connected, more alive, not because of one big change, but because of small daily choices. That's the power of practice. Try this now. Pick one tiny action, one small practice. Do it today, then do it again tomorrow. Because here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up. Daily. Conclusion. The lifelong practice. Close your eyes again. Breathe. Feel the air in your lungs, the weight of your body, the thoughts in your mind. You've just spent the last hour learning 12 Stoic principles. But here's the most important thing. None of this matters unless you practice it. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Stoicism isn't a philosophy to admire. It's a tool to use, not a theory to debate, a practice to live. So let's be clear. There is no immediate transformation in the sense of overnight success, no magic bullet, no secret trick that changes your life in 24 hours. What there is a way of living that transforms you day by day. You don't become wise in a day. You become wise by choosing wisdom today. You don't become peaceful in a week. You become peaceful by choosing peace right now. That's the power of Stoicism, not in grand promises, but in small, consistent actions. So what do you do now? Start small. Pick one principle, one practice, one tiny action. Maybe it's the dichotomy of control. The next time you're stressed, pause, ask, what's within my control? Maybe it's Amor, Fati. The next time something goes wrong, say, this is teaching me. Maybe it's Memento, Mori. And that change starts in the present moment. You don't need to wait for the right time. There is no right time, there is only this time. The past is gone, the future is unknown, but right now is yours. So use it. Don't just listen to this. Don't something. Pause, breathe. Ask, what is within my control? Then act on it. That's the practice. That's the transformation. That's the Stoic way. And it starts now. Because here's the final truth. You are not your circumstances. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who chooses how to respond. And that choice, every single day, is what makes a life. So choose wisely. Choose courage. Choose wisdom, choose virtue, choose to live, not perfectly, but presently, because the most powerful transformation isn't about changing the world, it's about changing yourself. And that begins with a single breath, a single choice, a single moment. Right now, thank you.